All right, good evening. Buenas noches. Any other language out there I should say that in?
Bueno, note?
Bon noite.
No, buen note?
It's probably Portuguese,
Yeah, I think so.
which is,
I can't remember.
I don't know. I won't, if there are any Brazilians or Portuguese here, I'll get in trouble. I was just going to say that Portuguese is just bad Spanish. But anyway, this is on YouTube. Lovely. I'll go back and change that. Anyway, good evening. Welcome everybody to this. We're back. I know we had more than your usual time lapse in between each session. And some of you came, I think, last week or the week before.
2 weeks ago.
And unfortunately, we were having Vacation Bible School, and that's why we had to change the dates. So we apologize for the confusion, but here we are once again. If you wanted to share this with your friends and even watch it tonight from afar, you can tell them about our stream, that they can watch it right now live over YouTube. And they can look up CARMSDA, CARM SDA, short for our church name, Carmichael SDA Church. But if you look that up on YouTube right now, then they can probably most likely find this live stream. We only have a couple more nights, but I'm sure you're going to share with us what those dates are and what it's going to look like in the next couple of weeks. And we're just happy to be able to host this event here since, it's been a couple months now.
Yes.
And we've enjoyed having Ruben and all of you here that have joined us from different parts and different places and from different walks of life. So I'm just going to quit talking and hand it over to Ruben, but I'll have a word of prayer first. Heavenly Father, our Creator, God, and the one who made this marvelous body, as your word says, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we are also, our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. And the scriptures are replete with so many mentions of our bodies, creation, how you made us. You gave us not just a body, but you also gave us meaning, purpose, and value. And so along with taking care of our bodies, we thank you that we also take care for our heart, mind, and soul. So we pray a blessing over our presenter, Ruben, today, and to all of us present. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right.
You're good to go.
All right, good evening. I'm a little hot. You may want to turn the volume down a little bit. Okay, good. All right, great. I'm so excited about this topic because this is the topic that really was the essence of my research. And what I did in my work, it really was extraordinary. And how I got started with this, some of you have heard the story, some of you have not. How many of you have never been in one of my seminars before? Could you check in when you get a chance? Okay, how many of you have never been in one of my seminars before? Anybody new? You're all veterans. Okay, good. All right, so the whole thing started, and I've shared this story for many of you before, that autopsy in 1981 that I did on the Seventh-day Adventist woman whose internal organs were as pristine and as flawless as a newborn, and she was in her mid-70s. And what was extraordinary was that she died from an undiagnosed ventral septal defect, a perforation through the chambers of the heart. And Dr. Glover said most people with that defect would rarely live past their 20s. It was shocking to see somebody who had actually beaten the odds by 50 years. How many of you would like to beat the odds by 50 years? Because I know I would. So that's what really compelled me to start looking at the connection between lifestyle and longevity. What's the connection? Dr. Glover was such an incredible mentor and teacher, and he really prompted me to start looking at this. So I started doing research on the Seventh-day Adventists and started looking at their lifestyle and what they chose to do and what was part of their lifestyle that they advocated for. And this is before the Adventist Health Study actually became known. So this is a long time ago. This is 1981. And then off to medical school I go, and I'm looking at pathology, And I learned to think in the way that they were teaching us in medical school, which was to assess the symptoms that the patient presented with. Then, box number 2, to come up with a diagnosis that had a number attached to it so it could be reimbursable. And then finally move to box number 3, which was treatment according to the Medical Association standards. And we were trained to mentally operate in box numbers 1, 2, and 3 over and over and over again, never once stopping to think, how did this patient get there? What was the underlying cause? We never were trained to think that way. And so that autopsy changed everything for me. And I'll never forget, my first year of medical school, the medical students at UC Davis, we operated a free clinic in downtown Sacramento on 15th and C. And on Saturday mornings, we ran this clinic for the homeless and for the indigent and for the migrant farm workers. So they would come from all over. And we had a doctor who was on board, our preceptor. And then the medical students, we got trained to do exams and to interview the patients and to start to actually handle the care. So there was a man who came in his mid-50s. He was a migrant farm worker. And he had gastrointestinal difficulties. And it was really interesting because his pattern of GI difficulties was every morning he would wake up, he was fine. And then about a half hour later, he ended up being on the toilet for 2 hours straight. Every morning. Bloating, gas, distension, mild diarrhea, not pleasant. Every morning for about 2 hours. And then he was fine after that. Fascinating, right? He went to the doctor. Nobody could help him at all. So I started asking him, tell me about your diet. Well, then it was time for me to go and present my patient to the preceptor. And he asked me, so what's your assessment? And I said, lactose intolerance. And he looked at me kind of like strangely and said, what makes you think that? And I said, because I had the same exact symptoms 3 years ago, and Dr. Glover diagnosed me and taught me that there's no species of mammal on the face of the planet that routinely nurses a different species of mammal, and that it was time for me to cut out the ice cream and the milk. And the doctor was shocked. He said, wow, where did you get that from? I said, it's logical. He said, okay, what's your plan? I'm going to educate him on the reality of mammalian species on the face of the planet. And I'm going to ask him to try it out for 1 week. Just test it out for 1 week. 1 week. Just go without dairy for 1 week and then come back and see if he feels better. He said, okay, I'll go with that. So that's what I did. I educated this gentleman on how to actually change his diet. The next week came and he came back. I never got such a big hug in all my life. It was awesome. And that was my first lifestyle medicine patient. And I've been doing it ever since. It's been extraordinary. So today is really an exciting day because we're going to talk about the connection between lifestyle and longevity from a couple of major directions. So we're going to look at that. To set the stage, we have to look at the reality of the world that we live in. Because the reality is that we live right here, right now, in this country, we live in an overfed, undernourished, and hyper-medicated world. That's what we're facing. There are so many additives in processed foods, which make up 63% of the American diet. Farming practices have learned to deplete the soil. By the way, there's an incredible documentary that's on Netflix. How many of you have Netflix? So, Common Ground. Common Ground. If you haven't seen it, it's exciting to watch. And it talks about regenerative agriculture. It's so great because we have depleted the soil. It's so blatant and it's obvious to see. Our new normal diet in the picture there, because that's what we see so many people engaged in. Medications, the United States comprises 5% of the world's population, 5% of the world's population. But we take on and ingest 25% of the world's medications in this country. 500% difference. Sedentary lifestyle is the new epidemic. So many people are on their butt and they don't walk, they don't get up, they don't exercise. So that's a real problem. Less time outdoors, which is really a significant problem for so many people. And disrupted sleep. We have so many people that sleep very, very poorly. And it's a really serious issue because shorter sleep equals shorter life. It really does. And we know that people, for instance, that have sleep apnea, 70% increased risk of developing Alzheimer's. So it's significant. When we look at the common ground of what we see in this country, it's obvious to see. I travel all over the country, so I see this all the time. About 74%, this is recent, 2020, 74% of the adults in the United States are overweight according to the CDC. And that includes nearly 43% who are considered obese. Yet 10% of those people don't perceive themselves to be overweight. Isn't that interesting? And when we look at chronic disease, the line has been growing every single year. So this is starting in 1940, about 7.5% of the population had chronic disease. Now it's up to 60% and even more, it's growing. So it's significant how many people have chronic disease. The overall statistics are not good. In this country, more than half of all deaths occur from heart disease, cancer, and stroke. 86% of the nation's healthcare costs are spent treating people with chronic disease. So guess where your tax dollars are going in that regard? And then 70% or more of Americans are overweight or obese. 70 million Americans have hypertension, high blood pressure, with elevated risk for stroke and heart attack. 100 million are projected to be diabetic by 2050. That's right around the corner. And then 130 million plus Americans are affected by chronic disease, and it's now up to 60% of the population. That's a huge proportion. So it's rather significant. This is costly to you, me, and everybody else. It's the burden by lifestyle medicine economics. These experts predict that by 2030, that's only 5 years away. By 2030, there will be a 54% increase in type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Total cost, $622 billion. A 41% increase in cardiovascular disease. That's what CVD stands for. Total direct costs of $818 billion. 50% of adults with obesity, a $580 billion loss. And $370 billion in annual retail drug prescriptions. This powerful sentence is really gripping. All projections point to continued rises in chronic disease. If we don't reverse this trend, we are headed for bankruptcy as a nation. The solvency of our nation is at stake. How many of you think that congressional leaders are paying attention to this? Anybody? Not at all. They're not. They're not paying attention to this, and yet this is right in the headlights. Individually, it costs people as well. We see a lower quality of life and increased mortality here in the United States. We lead the world in disease and disability burden in the last 16 years of our lives. frequent cause of bankruptcy. 41% of diabetics' financial hardship due to medical bills. Diabetes mellitus type 2 diabetes, 16.7 thousand per year additional medical expenses, and cardiovascular disease at $19,000 per person per year. That's expensive. So this whole world that we see in, when I go around the country and I travel and I go and watch people and I see people in the airports and I see so much unhealthiness. I see it. People are overweight. They have difficulty moving. I go in the cities and I see so many people on walkers having difficulty moving. And young people who are having difficulty with their lives. They're not active. So this overall picture is grim. And people are drowning in a sea of unhealth. And they're experiencing all kinds of issues. Worry, increased health insurance costs, less money for retirement, constant medications, poor quality of life, chronic diseases, shorter lives, increased stress, and increased medical costs. So my question is this: does it have to be this way? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. One of my favorite teachers, Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, and he said this: the secret to success is very simple. Study the successful people and do what they do that everybody else doesn't do. Doesn't that make sense? So when it comes to living a long, thriving, healthy, and happy life, do we have examples to learn from? Turns out we do. And we should be teaching this in every school, as far as I'm concerned. So this particular journalist, Dan Buettner, he discovered something very fascinating, that there are these 5 population groups across the planet, and because of the color of ink they put on the map to identify these areas, they got named the blue zones. That's how the color blue got assigned to them. So they are Loma Linda in Southern California, where the Seventh-day Adventists have a large population group, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and then there's a part of an island in Sardinia, Italy, another island, Icaria, Greece, and then also Okinawa, Japan. And we've been gathering information from these population groups for the last 30 years, and it's been fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Now, if you have Netflix, you also want to watch another documentary, and it's called Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to give you the highlights today, but it's a fascinating 4-part series, well worth the time. So it's outstanding. How many of you have not seen this documentary? You've not seen it. Oh, you got a homework assignment. Okay, very good. Okay, so what he showed in this documentary. Now, Dan is not a scientist. Carl, you got a question? Yes, of course, as always. Thank you for that. So all of you will receive a follow-up email as usual with a link to all the slides and all the resources. So you're going to get plenty of information. So don't worry, I'll take care of you. I always do. I'm a father of 4. I learned how to do that really well. Justin, what's your question?
I actually have a question about the documentary. Is the documentary very descriptive for blind people, or is it not descriptive?
I think it would be very descriptive for blind people. So go ahead and listen to it. Okay, very good. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so in the documentary, what Dan summarized the major findings of all of these blue zones, there were 4 major categories of behaviors that these people engaged in. One of the behaviors is that people in these 5 blue zones, they all tend to move naturally. They're moving all the time. They're always in movement. And they do a lot of things by hand. So a lot of their exercise or a lot of their engaged activities are manual. So they're doing work by hand. There was a picture of a 99-year-old man in Costa Rica, and he's swinging an axe. and chopping wood at the age of 99. That's doing things by hand. So he was definitely doing that. It's remarkable. And then they garden. A lot of people garden. They're spending time out in nature with the plants that they're growing. It's wonderful. And they do a lot of walking. One interesting finding was in Sardinia, because that particular island has such a steep incline where they live. And they were able to show that the steeper the area that you live, the longer you live as well. Isn't that interesting? Because when you have stronger legs, it also leads to something we call brain-derived neurotrophic factor for your brain. So you actually have a stronger brain. Works really well. So move naturally. The second major finding that we have from these blue zones is that people eat wisely. They eat wisely. Number one on the list is that all the diets of all these 5 blue zones are predominantly plant-based, and I'm going to give you the data on this later so you can actually see the analysis on that. In addition, they do enjoy a little bit of wine, but don't get too excited. The wine that they have is organic, and they have very little of it, and they only have it in social settings. So they're not drinking wine all the time. So it's very different. And we're going to talk more about the science of alcohol a little bit later. And then the third thing is that they always eat in moderation. So there's a phrase in Okinawa, iri ichibu, which means you eat to 70%. You never fill all the way up and say, I'm stuffed. All right, like Thanksgiving. No, don't do that. Just eat to 70% and then stop, and you'll discover that's enough. That's enough. So they eat enough, and that's it, just enough, eating to moderation. So very important. The third major finding in these blue zones is that they have a very positive outlook on life. That's really critical. No stinking thinking. Really important. People have a positive outlook on life. They regularly unwind from the stress of the day. They give themselves time to do that. Really an important characteristic. They all are grounded in a sense of faith. Faith is very important. That's a very powerful, empowering set of beliefs. So faith is important. It's a common denominator. And the other thing that's really great is that even people in their 80s, 90s, and even 100 or older, they all have a deep sense of purpose. Many of these centenarians are actively teaching the younger people. They're engaged in the community. So they're doing things, the sage. Yes, Victoria.
Got a question.
Yeah.
Pam just brought it up to me, but I was with a group today, and literally I was talking to one of the young women with all the politics that are going on today. She has nieces and nephews, all about the same age, used to play together, whatever. She is not allowed. She has to take them both separately because the parents are on one side and the other parents on the other. How do we work with that? It really troubled me that she said it's twice as expensive for me. The kids love each other, but the parents
Sure.
will not allow it.
Right. So that's a whole different topic that I will, it fits with this. I will explore that. The next seminar, I will talk about happiness, because the reverse of happiness is fanaticism. So what we're living with in the world that we live in today is a tremendous amount of fanaticism. It is. So I'm going to talk about it. I will cover it. So great question. But what's really important is to have a sense of purpose. Now, the fourth area that we saw in these blue zones, what's very interesting, and we've seen this in the research, the number one factor for longevity is not your cholesterol level. It's the strength of your positive social connections. Isn't that interesting? the strength of your positive social connection. So in these blue zones, what we see is these people connect. They absolutely place family first. Family is everything in these communities. They are very grounded and very centered in their families. They have very active family engaged. They're very engaged with their families. The sense of partnership is very sacred to them as well. Being in long-term, standing, intimate relationships is really a wonderful thing. They showed in the documentary, it was an 85-year-old woman and a 92-year-old man getting married. It was wonderful. Gave me hope. And then the other thing is that they all associate with the right tribe. So like energies attract, and being around the positive people that really can help them to live a thriving, healthy, happy life is a wonderful thing. So they associate with like-minded people. By the way, you're all invited Sunday nights, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, Faux Fresh in Rancho Cordova. We have a group of health-conscious, minded people all get together for dinner. Those of you who have been coming to my dinners, please raise your hands. There's a whole bunch of them here. Please come and join us. It's wonderful. We have a great time. You're all invited. So you want to be able to create the right tribe for yourself. These four together create this whole cycle of what we've learned from the blue zones. All of it makes a difference, all of it. Now, Dan is not a clinician. He's just an observer and a very good and very smart guy and a very excellent journalist. But in the world of science and medicine, Dr. Dean Ornish and a few others, what we've looked at is that medicine has failed when it comes to being able to treat and manage chronic disease. In fact, we don't even treat chronic disease very well. All we do is manage the symptoms. That's all we tend to do in traditional medicine. And Dr. Dean Ornish said, what we've been doing in traditional medicine for decades when it comes to heart disease and cancer and diabetes and rheumatoid arthritis, and the list goes on of all the chronic diseases, is likened to a couple of physicians walking into a kitchen and noticing that there's all this water on the floor. And their first response is to grab a couple of mops and start mopping the floor. That's what traditional medicine has been doing for decades. Never once stopping to look and see, where's the water coming from? And turning off the faucet and unplugging the drain, which I'm sure all of you would do. So this is what traditional medicine has been doing for decades. A group of physicians and scientists realized we need a radical, different approach. And Einstein said it very well, that the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created it. Now, traditional medicine is excellent when it comes to infections and trauma. It's excellent. It has a place. It really does. We've got an experienced nurse here. It works really well for that, doesn't it? But when it comes to chronic conditions, it doesn't work so well. It's an ongoing struggle. So these experts, as well as many others, they got together back in 2004. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Dr. Neil Barnard, and Dr. John McDougall, and several others. I know them all. And they embarked on a bold endeavor to do something radically different, to actually create a new specialty of the American Medical Association dedicated to actually reversing, preventing, and treating chronic disease by addressing the underlying root causes. And so they formed, back in 2004, a whole new specialty called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. How many of you before today have never heard of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine? How many of you before today? All right, everybody has. No, one person, Justin. So lifestyle medicine is the use of evidence-based, no weird stuff, no airy-fairy, evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic intervention, including a whole food, plant predominant eating pattern, regular physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connection, and even more. As a primary modality, we say do this first, delivered by clinicians trained and certified in the specialty to prevent, treat, and often reverse chronic disease. And it's awesome, it's so exciting. And so all of these areas are the areas that I work in. I work in all of these 8 areas. I've added, in addition, happiness and also hydration. But lifestyle medicine is what makes sense. And we have the data. It actually works so much better than medications ever could. Lifestyle medicine is the foundation of healthcare. It really is, because 80% of healthcare and our time and money is spent dealing with chronic disease. 80% of chronic disease is caused by lifestyle. We say 20% is contributed to genetics. So genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Now, if the disease is caused by lifestyle, the foundation ought to be a lifestyle treatment. And doesn't that make sense? And we've done experiments. We've done different groups where we've actually had people change certain aspects of their lifestyle. An old study where we actually had people just improve 4 lifestyle behaviors, just 4. We've seen all kinds of things. Our goal in lifestyle medicine is to improve the quality of your life so that you can live a long, thriving, healthy, happy life, and then you die really short with no suffering whatsoever. So that's what we want to be able to do. You can go like my godmother did at 102 in her sleep, sharp as a tack all the way to the very end. And by the way, at 92, she was the best salsa dancer out there. Okay, she was amazing.
Question though,
Yeah.
What about insurance?
What about
Does
insurance?
insurance ever pay for lifestyle medicine?
We're working on that, and it's getting closer and closer. Blue Shield actually has constructed, they have a department of lifestyle medicine, but they don't have all the workings set up yet. But we're working towards that. Medicare already approves the Ornish program and already reimburses it for cardiovascular. The Ornish, Dr. Dean Ornish's program. So that's a lifestyle program. So that's already being reimbursed by Medicare. Question here.
Kaiser has a chronic conditions management
Yeah,
group, but they still treat with traditional,
yeah, they still do. So they're moving towards that.
real slow.
Yeah, they're moving slowly, but they're getting there. And by the way, Kaiser has the most number of physicians that are board certified in lifestyle medicine and compared to any other group. So they are really on the forefront. So they're doing really well. And I can't handle all your questions today, so okay, very good. So we're going to move on. So here's what we want to be able to do, is look at this. So back in 1920, the average life expectancy in the United States was a mere 45 years. Kind of shocking. Now, in 2020, life expectancy was 78, but notice this graph. Because of all these chronic diseases, coronary artery disease, diabetes, stroke, kidney disease, cancer, the quality of life has deteriorated, especially after the age of 60. And so what we're out to do in lifestyle medicine is up here. Improve the quality of your life and get you to 100 or more, maybe, and then die short. Die peacefully in your sleep. My godfather died that way. My godmother died that way. That's how I'm going to go. So that's what we want to do. A research study where we actually just looked at 4 lifestyle behaviors was rather dramatic. 23,000 patients. And we just looked at keeping your weight down, your BMI less than 30, no tobacco use, 3.5 hours a week or more of physical activity, and a high intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and low red meat consumption. Just those 4 things. Not dramatic, just those 4 things. But those 4 things, if people did all 4, it resulted in a 78% decreased risk of developing chronic disease compared to those who had just 0. That's dramatic. That's a huge difference. So we can do this. And in October 2018, I was very proudly able to pass the board certification for lifestyle medicine as a clinician. And I became one of the first. My certificate, I almost brought it tonight. It's 00081, so that's my number. So, and today there are over 6,500 board-certified clinicians in the world. So it's very, very exciting. I'm also a member of the Institute of Coaching. Many of us in lifestyle medicine are. My education, California Lutheran, UC Davis, and UCLA School of Public Health. But what I get to do every single day is what Thomas Edison said well over 100 years ago, that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patient in the care of the human frame and in diet and the cause and prevention of disease. The word doctor, in case you didn't know, it actually means teacher. That's what it means. PhDs are called teachers. They're called doctors because they teach. So my 2 books on health, this one is the book that I published back in 2011, Evolving Health, and this one is getting closer and closer. I'm so excited. I will be done reviewing and finalizing all the chapters by the end of this month, and we'll probably have it out in the beginning of August. I'm so excited. Can't wait for this. So just to let you know, I have absolutely no conflicts of interest whatsoever. None. You don't have to worry about that. No products to sell you. So, diving in. Virgil was correct well over 2,000 years ago when he said that the greatest wealth that any of us can have is our health. And Aristotle said a person who has their health has 1,000 wishes. A person who does not has but only one wish. The problem that we face is that so many people displace the importance of health, and they focus on money. And they focus on making money all the time. And I love this quote from the Dalai Lama that man sacrifices his health in order to make money. It happens all too much. And then he ends up sacrificing his money in a desperate attempt to try to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future, he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. And I've seen that far too often. Far too often. So it's very important for us to understand that we get into this predicament because of our beliefs. We're all conditioned to believe what we believe. So in psychology, we define beliefs as thoughts trusted to be true. And they are strongly held opinions. Now, beliefs are not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. But they can be either empowering or disempowering. That's where it comes together. We have to understand that. And if you lived in Italy 1,200 years ago, and if you had a belief that the earth was a sphere, what would they do to you? Stone you? No. Imprison you, like Galileo was imprisoned because everybody believed that the earth was flat. And when Christopher Columbus sailed, they thought he was crazy. So we're all conditioned to believe what we believe. And I'm sure just about everybody here is old enough to remember the jingle, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Okay, that hasn't played in 50 years, okay, just so you know. Okay, now here's the reality that we have to face. All of us, myself included, we've all been conditioned by our environment, by media, by our parents, our teachers. We've been conditioned to believe what we believe. If you tell somebody something often enough, with enough emotion, and you're persuasive enough, eventually they'll believe anything. Case in point, actual ads that people believe hook, line, and sinker. Okay, Nicotine cigarettes, the smooth taste expectant mothers crave? Really? No flies on me thanks to DDT. Don't you believe that smiling baby's face? The first product of the Bayer aspirin company for relieving your headaches, heroin hydrochloride. It was legal and it worked. And then let this magic mineral asbestos protect the buildings on your farm. We can't get rid of it fast enough now because we know it's toxic. But back then, everybody bought into it. We all bought into it. So we have all been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and deceived, every single one of us. Here's the invitation. don't just believe what you've believed, hook, line, and sinker. Be willing to question your beliefs. Just question them, okay? You've heard that you need this and this and this, and you need this and you need that. And I always ask people, where did you get that information from? Are you sure for it? So one of the things that we have to be willing to do to really be able to grow is be willing to unlearn what we have learned. We must unlearn what we have learned. So we're going to talk about several things. To be able to increase our life expectancy, we need to look at the context for health. I'm going to go through that very quickly because all of you have been with me before. I'm going to talk about 8 lifestyle medicine hacks. My favorite hacks in each of those areas, the things to really focus on, to get you started to really focus. And then we'll talk about successful lifestyle change, and then I'll answer your questions. So I'm going to move fairly quickly. So the context for health begins with my dear, dear professor, Dr. Michael Kalitsky, who said this one day. It was comparative anatomy and physiology. He says, remember that all of life is in one of 2 states at any given moment. Either it is surviving or it is thriving, and that's all there is. Now, this is real important to get. You finally got it. You finally got it, didn't you? It really made a difference when you finally get this, that either life is surviving or thriving, and that's all there is. It's powerful to understand this because we start our lives, early in our lives, like this, a ball of cells. And you can't tell them apart. So this is in the embryo. And then eventually this ball of cells gets big enough, and then we start to form a tube of cells, which becomes known as the, test question, the what? The neural tube. You passed, Pam. That's great. All right. So the neural tube gives rise to what we call the limbic brain, which is the core of your brain. It's the primordial brain, if you will, the primal brain, the monkey mind, if you will. All right, so it's the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the amygdala, all of those features. It's not the outer cortex. That's where your rational thinking takes place. No. This is irrational thinking that's happening, but it runs the show. And it's all connected to your spinal cord. It runs the show. It runs it. It's the electrical system of the body. And just like any electrical system, it's got 2 currents. So the positive current is referred to as the parasympathetic state because when it is on, it's affecting every organ system in the body and every cell in the body. Everything is affected at the same time. The negative current is the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. When it is on, it's affecting every organ system in the body, every cell in the body, but in the opposite way. This is critical to understand. It's so fundamental. Every healthcare professional learns this, but we don't remember how important this is. So when we are in the sympathetic state, for whatever reason, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, those are the 4 fundamental human energies. So if we're in the sympathetic state, the state of survival, for any reason, our body is going to react and be in the state of stress, and it's going to try to adjust to that. It's a very primal process. So the reactions can include fight, flight, freeze, and fold, but even as subtle as a thought, a negative thought, a worry, some anxiety, a fear, that's enough to trigger us being in the sympathetic state. You get in your car and you think to yourself, oh no, I have to go deal with Pedro today. He's not here. Too bad. So when you think that thought, that's enough to trigger us to be in the sympathetic state. The whole system goes into that state. What keeps us there is that there's this reinforcement system, our central nervous system. When we are in the sympathetic state, our brain is triggered to be in that state. A few things happen. One, we are going to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. And our brain is very good at doing that when we're in the sympathetic state. You've had a stressful day, you get home, you're tired, and what do? We have a drink, have a hamburger, call Domino's Pizza, grab the TV remote control, sit on the couch, and watch Netflix. That's it. That's what we do. Oh, I've been there. Now, the other thing that keeps us sick is the pattern of family behaviors that we learn. It's not genetics. A lot of us think it's genetics. No. It's the pattern of behaviors and lifestyle that we learn from our families. The food industry clearly does not have our health in their best interest. Our government certainly does not either. And then the medical industry, interestingly enough, because it's in cahoots with the pharmaceutical industry. Some of you have seen this. Who has not seen this book? Who's not seen this book? Okay. Okay, got it. Justin. So, Justin, this is the book. This is the textbook that I have from medical school. And it's the textbook on nutrition. It's about 100 pages. It's a hardback, glossy, color, beautiful book. Beautiful book. It's got all kinds of information about kwashiorkor, marasmus, beriberi, and scurvy. And all the macronutrients, which are protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and all the micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. And the book, on the front of the cover, Justin, it says nutrition. But at the bottom of the book, it says, please tell us what it says there. Upjohn. What is Upjohn? Justin, do you know what Upjohn is? Upjohn Pharmaceutical Company. Well, you got news. You got to learn something really new today. Upjohn happens to be a major pharmaceutical company in the United States. And so I had to connect the dots that every single medical student in the entire United States is learning their nutrition from a pharmaceutical company. Wow. So what lifestyle medicine is all about is not treating the symptoms. We're not going to do that. It's radically different. Our job in lifestyle medicine is to empower you to swing the pendulum from being predominantly in the sympathetic state and to help you move over so that you're past the dividing line and you become predominantly parasympathetic most of the time. You'll go back and forth from time to time. That's just how life is. But we don't want to keep you in the sympathetic state. We want you to move over to the parasympathetic state more of the time, because when that happens, the body heals itself. And it heals itself far better than any medication could ever do. So that's our job. That's what we're doing in lifestyle medicine. That's why it's such a radically different approach. And to do that, we have to address the complexity of who we are as a human being. It's not one cause, one treatment. We're not going to do that. It's realizing that we're much more complicated than that. To help us swing the pendulum, there's ancient wisdom that goes back thousands of years. 5 major elements that help us to swing the pendulum from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Number 1 is the thoughts that we think. 2 is the words that we speak. 3, the actions that we take. 4, it's the company we keep. And 5, the food that we eat. All of it matters. Everything affects our central nervous system. Everything does. Even the color of clothing that you wear affects your central nervous system. It does. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely does. So everything affects your central nervous system. All of it matters. And in the ancient wisdom, we know that the human body has 4 fundamental energies: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energy. Those energies all contribute to our well-being, and every one of these energies, they interrelate with each other. Our physical energy affects everything else. Our emotional energy affects everything else. Our mental energy affects everything else. Our spiritual energy affects everything else. So they're all interrelated. We cannot just address one arena and expect the whole body to become better. That's why in lifestyle medicine, we look at the comprehensive approach of looking at everything about your life. Very important. So when I work with people, I actually assess 8 major lifestyle medicine areas: hydration, nutrition, physical activity, risky substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being and stress management, healthy relationships, and coming in 2 weeks, we'll have the next seminar on happiness. And there's a whole new field of psychology called happiness psychology, positive psychology. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. It's going to be awesome. Don't miss it. So what lifestyle medicine is out to do, to help you to live a thriving, healthy, happy, and longer life, is to empower you to build resilience. It's not about being perfect. It's about building resilient. And here's the definition from psychology about resilience. Resilience is the capacity to prepare for disruptions. Do disruptions happen in our lives? Absolutely. To recover from shocks and stresses. Do shocks and stresses happen in our lives? Absolutely. And adapt and grow from a disruptive experience. That's the benefit right there. To be able to adapt and grow from a negative experience that's disruptive to our lives. Adversity happens in all of our lives, every single one of us. So it's about how we can build that resilience. And it's all about progress. It's not about perfection. It's all about progress. There is no expectation of perfection from any of us in lifestyle medicine. Nope, not happening, because none of us are perfect. All right, it's all about making progress. And everybody's got their own path. Everybody does. So it's real important to understand that. So let's go into some hacks. Are you ready? You ready for some lifestyle medicine hacks? Justin's ready. All right, number 1 on the list is hydration. Now, in the Seventh-day Adventist study, we have this research that shows in over 20,000 participants, ages 38 to 100, and a 6-year follow-up, that a mere 5 glasses of water a day, that's 40 ounces of water, decreased the risk of stroke and heart attack by 50%. 50%. Statins only decrease the risk of heart attack and stroke by 25 to 30%. Why is it that cardiologists are not prescribing water? I don't know. I have no idea, because they don't make any money. There's no kickbacks from it. But every cardiologist, in my opinion, should be prescribing water. Absolutely. Now, for those who want to lose weight, what we show is that a clinical study, it was a randomized 12-week clinical study, that just a mere 2 cups of water, 16 ounces of water before each meal, actually led to a 44% greater rate of weight loss just by doing that. That would put Weight Watchers and all the rest out of business completely. So it's remarkable. We need to drink water, and we need water as opposed to coffee or tea or juices. So we need water. Your body is made up of water, and water is essential for all the reactions in your body and for healing. The recommended amount by Dr. Brooke Goldner, based on her research, is a minimum of 1 ounce per pound of body weight per day if you weigh less than 96 pounds. And up to 128 ounces, which is a gallon, per day. Now, if you have a dramatic increase, don't try to do this all at once, by the way. Don't try to dramatically increase it. Go at it slowly and gradually. And you may need to decrease if you have heart or kidney issues. Consult with your doctor. I'm working with somebody right now that's on dialysis out in North Carolina. So the water has to be measured, and it has to be very carefully managed as far as that's concerned. So we can't go too far with it. So it's real important to be able to do that. But he's getting better. It's really remarkable. So I'll share this with you. Dialysis 3 days a week, a retired minister. He's been on dialysis for 3 days a week for over 2.5 years. His glomerular filtration rate, Victoria, you know what that is, right? That's how well the kidneys can actually filter out the blood, okay? Normally, we like to see that at about 60 to 90%. That's what we like to be able to see, above 60. His was down to 1%. Not good. Not good. So he's been following all these recommendations that I've been working with him, all of it. And now his GFR is up to 10. So it's getting better. He's improving. So he's still got a ways to go, long ways to go. So hydration, here's a simple hack, how to get to 96 ounces. Easy way to do it. Drink 2 full 8-ounce glasses of water first thing in the morning. Absolutely the most important time. If that's the only time you drink water, if you want to start this habit by doing that, that's the best time. So you get up in the morning, go to the bathroom, of course, and then get 2 8-ounce glasses of water in your mouth. Do that. That's the most important. It hydrates your brain. Your brain is 80% water. It needs water. It doesn't need the caffeine. Trust me. Trust me. It doesn't matter because as soon as it gets into the stomach, within a matter of 30 seconds, it's going to be 98.6 degrees. All right, so it really doesn't matter. So it's a matter more of preference. Justin, what's your question?
Is it okay if it's in the plastic bottles because it's a little bit tough for me to pour? I mean, I can do it, but see, my hands shake a lot. So
Yeah. Justin, you are a champion, and so champions do what it takes. So that's what you do, all right? So that's what you're going to do. So just make sure you do it. That's not a problem, okay? Now, try to drink a glass of water before and after each meal, 3 times a day. That's going to be 16 times 3. And then you drink 2 glasses before a workout or exercise, because you should be exercising every day, doing something active, right? And then 2 glasses after your physical activity. That will get you to 96 ounces. Easy. So that's how that works. Simple. Now, how you know you're well hydrated is not just what you put in, it's also evaluating what comes out. So check your pee. Take a look every now and then, all right? Take a look. Is it pale yellow to clear? That's a good sign. So you want it to be pale yellow to clear. And by the way, you should be going to the bathroom about every hour to 2 hours. That's a good range. Every hour to 2 hours, urinating is very good to do. That's healthy. If you're going every 30 minutes, you can back off, okay? Now, don't worry about drinking so much water that you have to drink frequently, and don't worry about the social impact of that, because drinking a gallon of water a day actually helps you to avoid other people's drama because you are too busy having to go pee. Yes, I'm sorry, I can't listen to your story right now. I gotta go. So have fun with it. Okay, now let's talk about food, diet, okay, and nutrition. So here's a grim statistic from the CDC that only 1 in 10 adults in the United States today, only 1 in 10, eat enough fruits and veggies. 1 in 10, 10%. Not good. Not good. That's below an F, okay? So that's really bad. We have something called the phytochemical index, which is based on what percent of plant food we're getting into our diet. So in 1998, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains only accounted for 19%. By 2006, it was down to 17%, and it's been going down ever since. Not good, because we've been increasing processed foods and less fruits and vegetables. In fact, in 2006, it was down to, later than that, it got down to 2. In 2009, it got down to 12%. 12% fruits and vegetables. Remember that number. 12% of the diet in the United States as of 2009, and it's been going down ever since. When we look at the impact of the quality of the food that we've been eating in the United States, more processed foods, more fast foods, increase in calories, and increase in overweight, no kidding. So we've increased from 1961 from 2,880 calories up to 3,682 calories. No wonder we have the issues that we have. Now, again, how do we learn how to change this story? Study the successful people and do what they do. So we've actually looked at the diet of the people in the blue zones and analyzed their diets. Would you like to see? All right, here's the data. So in the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, the total percent of plants in their diet, 58% plants in their diet. Remember, what is it in the United States? 12. So this is 4.5 times more. Wow. Okay, so big difference. In Sardinia, Italy, 63% plants. Even higher. Yes.
Is that the percentage of all the calories? Because that's one way to measure it. Or is this, I don't understand, what are we measuring?
Percent of the diet, I'm not sure if it's calories or if the food. That's all I know is what the data they gave me.
Because a lot of us like that out of the 100 calories,
Mm-hmm.
then that's one way to measure everything.
I think you're too analytical for us tonight. Okay? So I'm going to invite you, because of your background, I'm going to invite you to do the research and find out and tell me later. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm just going on the data that I have. Okay, so Sardinia, Italy, 63% plants. Icaria, Greece, 78% plants. 78% plants. Loma Linda in California, Seventh-day Adventists, many of you are, 81% plants. 81 as opposed to 12. And the best health outcomes actually show up in the group in Okinawa, 97% plants. Interesting, they have 2/3 of their diet come from one food source, the purple sweet potato. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So the purple sweet potatoes, you can find them in the stores, but they're great. Now, our neighbors to the north in Canada, they saw this research. And what they did is they challenged their researchers to come up with a new food guide, and they did something bold. They kicked out all the private interest groups. Kicked them out. And so they came up with a whole new food guide in Canada back in 2019. And this is their food guide. And by the way, Canada is one of the leading dairy producers in the world. They kicked dairy out as the main beverage. They said, drink water, and it's 88% plants. Remarkable. Now, they have universal health care, so they have a vested interest in having their people stay healthy.
Is that guide available to purchase?
Yeah, you can look it up online.
There's an app, they have an app
Yeah.
that is so much better than
Oh, yeah.
we have. And anytime you want to look up something, their app on food analysis is easy.
I bet. It's great. So when, yeah, okay. Okay, all right, very good. Now, by the way, Lifestyle Medicine is not the only scientific organization that promotes a plant-based diet, just so you know. All of these scientific organizations, including Diabetes Canada, the World Cancer Research Fund, Department of Veterans Affairs, American Diabetes Association, Endocrine Society, Dietary Guidelines for Americans, American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the American Medical Association, all of these organizations now all agree, eat more unrefined plant foods. That's the message. And because we show clinically, it's the only dietary approach that reverses atherosclerosis and heart disease. Only one. And it causes a positive genetic expression. It increases the telomere length on your chromosomes, and it demonstrates the best long-term weight loss. It's the only diet that does all four. It's the only one. It's remarkable. And I love what Dr. Greger says. If that's all a plant-based diet can do, reverse the number one killer of men and women, shouldn't that be the default diet until proven otherwise? Sounds like it makes sense, right? And then a cardiologist by the name of Dr. Heather Schenkman, she's a cardiologist. And what she said, she wrote this book, The Vegan Heart Doctor's Guide. In over 11 years of practice as a cardiologist, not a single plant-based patient under my care has gone on to have another heart attack, need another stent, or need bypass surgery. Which is amazing when you think about it. In the research, people who have had a heart attack, stent, or bypass surgery, they have a 67% chance of having a repeat cardiac event or procedure done within the next 4 years. She had 0%. Now, genetically, in terms of the genes being changed, Nobel Prize winner Elizabeth Blackburn, who's in San Francisco, she showed that a plant-based diet caused more than 500 genes to change in a positive direction, reducing the genes that cause disease and turning on the genes that prevent disease. That's remarkable. So we have genetic evidence. She also did the research on the telomeres. She's a brilliant, brilliant scientist. And the telomeres are on the caps of the chromosomes. And we've seen that a plant-based diet actually helps keep these telomeres, these ends, longer, which means you will live longer. The longer your telomeres, the longer you live. So that's remarkable at the chromosomal level. Amazing. And then we have the research. We put all the major diets head to head. And what we showed in 2019 in the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention is that a plant-based diet is absolutely the best when it comes to long-term, sustainable weight loss. So it works really well. So we recommend a whole foods, not processed foods, and plant foods, not animal foods, excuse me. That's a fiber-fueled approach. Most people have a deficiency of fiber, so we want to get plenty of fiber. So that's looking at your major food groups being legumes. And in case you're wondering if you have options, you have lots of options. Over 22,000 species of legumes. I had no idea. So you have plenty of options. Whole grains, 21 options there, 21 major varieties. Starchy vegetables, over 4,000 edible potato varieties. I had no idea. And over 100 known varieties of squash. Wow. And then vegetables, there's over 1,000 unique cultivated species worldwide. Amazing. And then fresh fruit, you got over 2,000 different types of fruit. There's no way you're going to be bored on this diet, okay? You've got plenty to choose from. Now, the benefits are amazing. I'm not going to go through all of these. There's so many benefits to this. There's research on all of these. It's extraordinary. In fact, I couldn't put it all on one slide. I had to put it on two. All right, so there's so many benefits from following a plant-based diet. It really is. And even if you don't do it completely, you just move towards it, it will make a difference. If you're at the 12% of vegetables and fruit and greens, then if you move that up the scale, you'll improve and it'll be dramatic, the difference. Now, the benefit in terms of your longevity, so we're talking about life expectancy, what we show is that following a plant-based diet, if you're a vegetarian and you still have some dairy in your diet, you're going to live about 7 years longer. And if you have a completely plant-based diet, you'll have a life expectancy of 15 years longer. Wow.
Depends how old you are at the time.
Yes, right. It depends on when you start, of course. It does matter. That does matter. What we showed, there's another documentary on Netflix that you can watch, and it's You Are What You Eat, a twin experiment. And I just want to show the findings. So being on this for 8 weeks decreased the LDL cholesterol, which is the major risk factor for heart disease, decreased trimethylamine oxide, which is an inflammatory marker for heart attack and stroke, increase the telomere length, which absolutely increases life expectancy, and improves the microbiome, which also increases every aspect of your lifestyle. So wonderful findings. Wonderful, wonderful findings. So remember this, that the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. So you get to choose. And we're all adults here, so there are always consequences to every single choice we make. There always is. Whether we like it or not, there's always consequences. So choose wisely, because every time you eat or drink, you're either going to be feeding disease or fighting it. My recommendation is that you look at your refrigerator and try to make sure that it looks like a garden teeming with life instead of a morgue rotting of death, okay? All right. Okay, some more hacks. Let's now talk about physical activity. So physical activity, extremely important for us. We have so much research showing how incredibly important physical activity is for our health and longevity. I love this one. That's me on the left with blonde hair. Okay, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead for 24 hours a day? What's it gonna be, boo-boo? So the thing is, we've got to move. It's really important that we do. Exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, your attitude, and your mood. It affects every aspect of your life. It affects your digestion. It affects your bowel movement. It affects everything. So really important to exercise. You want to make sure you do so. We recommend from Lifestyle Medicine the sweet spot of 150 to 300 minutes of aerobic exercise every single week. Spread it out. Don't do it all at once, but that's how much exercise. And we want to do that aerobic exercise. Walking is great, by the way. So studies show those who exercise in midlife around age 40 were less likely to develop dementia after age 65 than those who were sedentary. That's significant. So we know that 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 will develop dementia. All right, so this is why exercise is so critically important. One of the best exercises you can engage in, just so you know, research done at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York City, published in the New England Journal of Medicine. We showed the percentage reduced risk of dementia. Number 1 was 76% reduction in risk of dementia from dancing frequently. Yes, we want to dance. It's very important that we learn to dance. My invitation to all of you, and you're never too old, is to take up salsa dancing. No kidding. I've been dancing for 25 years. I will dance till the day I die. I'm clear that I will. So that's my recommendation for all of you. Okay, next hack, harmful substances. Smoking, we all know, it causes a lot of damage. We have so much evidence now. By the way, it took 50 years and over 7,000 research studies before the Surgeon General said, okay, we're going to put a label on the cigarette packages to tell everybody that this causes cancer. So it causes cancer, it causes a lot of other problems as well. If you know somebody that smokes and wants to quit, 70% of smokers want to quit, I recommend this book. It's outstanding. Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Absolutely phenomenal. Works really well. So I highly recommend this. Most people want to quit smoking. The next area that's a harmful substance is alcohol. Now remember, we talked about wine earlier, right? So alcohol, it turns out from the research that there is absolutely no safe level. No safe level of alcohol. People get away with it, and the people in the blue zones are able to live a long and healthy life in spite of the alcohol, not because of it. Everybody with me on that? It's not because of the alcohol, it's in spite of the alcohol. So the truth about alcohol, we have so many research studies on how it affects the heart. It affects the heart adversely in many ways. High blood pressure, risk of stroke, damaging the heart muscle, heart failure, abnormal heart rhythms, and definitely interacts negatively with medications. We know that. The American Medical Association sent a statement letter to the Dietary Guidelines Committee in 2020. And I just want to point out what they highlighted. Alcohol is a known human carcinogen. There is no safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. Everybody got the message? I hope so.
What about, you hear people who are wine drinkers?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, especially I know Italians.
Sure.
They have something, they don't overdrink, but
Yeah.
they'll have something every
Yeah.
meal.
Right? Yeah.
And you hear that is good for the heart, but this doesn't look like it.
Well, so much of the research is looking at one component of the wine, and what they do is they microscopically evaluate that one component, but they don't look at the total picture. So that's what I'm trying to present here is the total picture. So we do know that there's a lot of damage to the heart, even though there are studies that say, oh, it's good for the heart, but who funded that research? Okay? And 70% of all research studies are paid for by industry, just so you know. So here's the data from the American Medical Association. And when we look at this in terms of the equivalency towards cigarettes, one bottle of wine is the equivalent of 5 cigarettes for men and 10 cigarettes for women. In Britain and England, they actually show, they have public health advertisements all the time that alcohol can cause 7 different types of cancer. They're very clear about it in the United Kingdom. They make people know about this. And they have a whole public health education program around alcohol, in the pubs even. So they want to make sure people understand that. In addition, recent research shows very clearly, based on over 36,000 brain scans, that alcohol damages the brain. Even 1 drink a day can damage the brain. So that's the second harmful substance. The third harmful substance is the kissing cousin of nicotine, which happens to be the kissing cousin of nicotine. Nope. Nope. The kissing cousin of nicotine is another alkaloid compound called caffeine. Shocking, isn't it? Now, just so you know, I was addicted to caffeine. In medical school, I needed to study for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. We had exams every single Monday morning. So we spent all weekend studying. And so I got addicted to caffeine. And then eventually I had an interesting experience because I started drinking the caffeine and eventually I started noticing floaters in my visual field. Not a good sign. I knew what was happening. The blood vessels in my retina were rupturing, and blood cells were filling into the space of my eyes, the vitreous humor. So then I did an experiment, as a good scientist did. I stopped drinking the caffeine. And then the floaters went away. And then I tested it out. I had to test it. It was an experiment. I had to do the test. So I had 1 glass of Mountain Dew. Floaters came back. I knew what the cause was. So I have done a tremendous amount of research around caffeine from a personal perspective because I know what it does. Now, in Europe, the Europe Society of Cardiology, the cardiologists in Europe, not here in the United States, in Europe, they came out with a statement that consumption of energy drinks leads to significant increased risk of arrhythmia, which is rapid heart rate, and up to a 500% increased risk of stroke. Okay? That's in Europe, not here, because our government won't allow that kind of research to come out. Okay? Yes, Joyce?
What about matcha tea and green teas?
They have less caffeine, but they still have caffeine. Okay? They still have caffeine. So there's a lot of things to consider. Here's some of the truths. Coffee, chocolate. What was that you were saying, Joyce? Matcha tea, black tea, green tea, energy drinks, all have negative side effects because of caffeine. Because caffeine, by the way, in case you didn't know, how many of you here studied organic chemistry? Anybody? Okay, organic chemistry. So the alkaloids, nicotine and caffeine, the extraction process is exactly the same. Exactly the same. And Dr. Wiley said, oh, a word of warning before you do the experiment. If you decide to extract the nicotine from tobacco leaves, and when you get it to the liquid state before you turn it into a powder, if you are the least bit careless and you touch one little drop of caffeine, you will be dead in 5 seconds.
What?
Yep, it's that toxic. It is that toxic. So I raised my hand. I said, what about the caffeine? He said, for you, it will likely not kill you. It will make you very sick. Has anybody here heard about caffeine deaths because of young people actually overdosing on caffeine and actually dying? It actually happens. Caffeine is a drug. Too many Red Bulls, and people have actually died from it. It actually happens. Okay, so that's news for you, all right? Good stuff to pay attention to. The next hack is restorative sleep. Very, very important for our health. So regular sleep, so shorter sleep equals shorter life. So we want to recognize, I mentioned earlier, that sleep apnea increases your Alzheimer's risk by 70%. We generally need 7 to 8 hours of sleep in order to detox our brain. However, people have different sleep patterns, so it depends on you. Question?
Exactly, sleep patterns. I noticed in the last year or so, I have about every 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And also I take a nap once a day. Mm-hmm. So all the time I was asleep, with 8 hours.
So it's not so much the time, it's your energy that you need to pay attention to. So what's your energy? Are you able to function and function very well? In different parts of the world, by the way, they sleep like that. I mean, if you were living in Spain, you would have dinner about 9 o'clock at night. You would go dancing till about 2 o'clock in the morning. You would sleep from 2 until about 7 or 8, maybe, but you sleep in a couple hour shifts. And then you get up, and then you work for a few hours, you have lunch, and then you have a siesta. And then you sleep for a couple of hours, everything shuts down, and then you do other things, and you start all over again. Okay, so every part of the world has different cultural practices in terms of sleep, and everybody's wired differently. There are such a thing, I mean, think about it. If you lived in certain parts of the world where it's very risky, somebody's going to have to be on night watch, especially if you're in a dangerous area where there's dangerous animals. All right, so you have to be able to be on night watch, so you have to do that. So every place is different in terms of your sleep. The key is understanding your energy. What's your energy? How do you function? That will tell you more. So there's more to it. I have a whole seminar on it. Yes, Gary.
Can you get restorative sleep with what this gentleman was saying? 'Cause lately I've been sleeping like that because of the kidney thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll sleep for an hour,
Yeah.
go to the bathroom.
Right.
Sleep for an hour. But I feel like I sleep. I mean, when I go back to sleep, I'm like, I'm out. And
You're out.
now
Yeah.
I'm breathing a lot more. So that means I'm not getting into deep sleep.
Maybe not so much. Yeah. I mean, think of it. How many of you are mothers? Okay. What was your child's sleeping pattern like? So it was very different. Okay, it was intermittent, so it was always that kind of pattern. So you sleep for a few hours and you're up and you're that kind of stuff. That's not abnormal. What we show in the data is this, that for all chronic diseases, there is a sweet spot of the least amount of risks. And this is true for diabetes and all other kinds of chronic disease. And so generally speaking, this area, somewhere between 7 to 8 hours of sleep, has the least amount of risk. Too much or too little could actually increase your risk. It depends on you. Everybody's different. There is no one solid rule for this. Don't get put into a box on this. Everybody's a little different. Here's the shocking statistic, though. And we have this problem here in California because we practice something called daylight savings time. So here's the data. We showed this worldwide, that just in the spring, which just happened not too long ago, when we changed the daylight savings time, we experienced the next day a 24% increase in heart attacks. And we also have an increase in suicides and auto accidents. It's rather dramatic. So 1 hour of sleep can actually be detrimental. And then in the fall, when we go back and regain that hour, we have a 21% decrease in heart attacks. I have a good friend who's an emergency room physician, and they actually staff accordingly. It's amazing. So the most important thing for you, and this is what I recommend for you, figure out what works for you and have a regular schedule as much as you possibly can. The more consistent you are, the better. So that's what we show also in the research. The more consistent you are, the better. So it works really well. Okay, so now, next area is being able to unwind and practice de-stressing. Very, very important to be able to do. What we have in psychology is the term eustress, EU stress, versus distress, which is negative stress, too much stress. So distress actually shrinks your brain and also decreases your longevity. So meditation, awareness, and eliminating multitasking are very good practices to help you to unwind. Now, the most powerful skill, and I'm going to send you a video from Dr. Andrew Huberman, and it's a very powerful skill based on the research of being able to practice what's called the physiological sigh. How many of you are aware of the physiological sigh? Anybody here practice it? Anybody? You practice it? Very good. So the physiological sigh, I'm just going to describe it right now, is something that is natural to us, that we do it in our sleeps, but we're not aware of it. But when we practice it consciously, not only does it re-regulate our CO2 and oxygen levels, but it also is the fastest way for us to shift our central nervous system state from sympathetic to parasympathetic we have ever seen. It is so fast by just simply doing this. Inhale, pause, inhale deeply, long exhale. And doing that is enough to switch your central nervous system state, just like that. So I'm going to send you the video. Practice when you get the email. Now, last two areas. One is relationships. And I love this the longest study on relationships. It's a longitudinal study. It started in 1938 out of Harvard with the sophomore class at Harvard University. How happy we are in our relationships has a positive influence on our health. Tending to your relationships is a form of self-care too. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Bonus points to anybody who can name the college student on the blocks at Harvard in 1938. Is that Kennedy? That is John F. Kennedy. In 1938, he was the captain of the swim team. He was an outstanding swimmer. If you've never seen the movie PT 109, you need to watch it. It's fantastic. So, what's that? Yeah, he was. So he was a strong swimmer. He was their number one backstroker too. So I learned a long time ago when it comes to relationships from my parents. I learned the rule, the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Absolutely, it's a good rule. However, I learned that it's also defective because it assumes that other people want the same things I want, and maybe they don't. Are you kidding me? Oh, so there's been an upgrade to the golden rule, which is called the platinum rule, which is exactly, do unto others as they would want done to them. It's not about me after all. What? So to help you practice the platinum rule, two books to read. One is called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman for your personal relationships, for those of you who have them or those of you who would like to have them. And then for organizations and the leaders, I have them read The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. Absolute platinum. Fantastic. Because it's based on the 5 languages of appreciation. Some people love experiencing, and they love getting tangible gifts, like the Starbucks gift cards. Others want to spend time with you. Others need to hear, thank you, I appreciate you. Others need to feel appropriate physical touch. And then others need to experience you shouldering up with them with acts of service. Here's the key. Remember that every single person's greatest emotional need, and we all have this, is to feel appreciated. Isn't that right? It is, isn't it? It's to feel appreciated. We all have this need, and it's very important. So the more we pay attention to it, the better. Last area for hack in lifestyle medicine is happiness. There's a whole area of happiness and field of happiness that we're actually expanding in lifestyle medicine. It's really exciting and a part of it. So Dr. Sean Achor has actually gathered evidence that 6 happiness practices, actually lead to dramatic results. 37% more success, 19% more accuracy, 23% fewer fatigue symptoms, 300% more creative, up to 10 times, 1,000% more engaged, and 31% more productivity. How many of you would like to get those statistics for yourself? Would that be good? I think so. So Sean Achor, I'm going to send you his video. His TED Talk is hilarious. It's hilarious. You want to watch it. He's great, and he's so smart. And he talks about these 6 practices, these 6 happiness practices. Pat knows them well. So the first practice is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude. And writing down 3 unique things that you are grateful for that occurred over the last 24 hours is a powerful practice. If you have difficulty going to sleep, put a notebook on your night table and write down, make it a gratitude journal, and write those things down before you go to sleep. You'll sleep more peacefully. It's amazing. Number 2 is the doubler. Take one positive experience from the past 24 hours and expand on that, either in writing, and here's the option, you can also share with somebody else. How many of you have ever shared with a friend? Oh, I had a great experience that happened to me yesterday. Let me tell you about it. How many of you have ever done that? That's the doubler. So do that ad libitum. Okay, number 3 is the fun 15. Just 15 minutes of physical activity, doing something you enjoy, whether it's gardening or walking or anything. Get out there. Number 4 is meditation and stillness. Just being still and practicing controlled breathing is another practice for that. Number 5, conscious acts of kindness. Just be kind to yourself. Be kind to others, be kind to the world. Practice kindness. We never know when somebody's having a rough day. Practice being kind. And then number 6 is deepening your social connections. Get connected with people and come to dinner on Sundays at 5 o'clock at Faux Fresh and deepen your social connections. All right, so come and do that. You'll have fun. It's a way to improve your happiness. So I've covered a lot of practices today, have I not? Woo! We've covered a lot, but all of it is important when it comes to increasing our life expectancy. A lot of people want the one shortcut. There's no such thing. No such thing. It's a matter of looking at all of these spokes of our wheel of life and paying attention to all of it. And it's about being able to make progress, not perfection. Remember that. It's all about progress, not perfection. So how many of you would like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? How many of you would like to do that? Great. Imagine. Now, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions. So imagine, what would that look like if you were actually living your best life? Would it be a life filled with energy and vitality and activity? Would you be doing great things with your body and having so much fun? Wow, could be amazing. So would you be able to dance with your loved one on the beaches of all these wonderful, beautiful beaches filled with health, energy, fun, and vitality? So the question is this: where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not, but if you are, that's great. But how will you get from where you are now to where you want to get to? Well, just like anything else in life, we need a plan. And that's what we need. We need a plan that's actually proven to work. Most people don't have a plan that's proven to work. And doctors don't have one for you. They do not. Traditional medicine does not have a plan to improve the quality and length of your life. They don't. So I do, and it's based on my whole book that's coming out soon. So it's a four-part plan. And it works for everything. It works in sports, it works in business, it works in health. Number one, we've got to begin from within. We've got to address our mindset, our thinking, our attitude, our consciousness, and awareness. If we don't alter this, game is over. If you've been an athlete, you know attitude is everything when it comes to performance. How many of you know that? You know that. Absolutely the case. So it starts here. Second, we need a proven strategy that's evidence-based, that's actually proven to work. Third, we need a track record of consistency, because what we say in psychology is that habits produce results. So we have to develop those habits. There's a science to doing that. And then the fourth part is that we have to create a network, a system of support and accountability, because none of us succeeds just by ourselves. Nobody does. Nobody does. So we need that support. We need that accountability. We need that system. It works. Did anybody here graduate from college with no teachers and no books? Anybody? Doesn't happen. So we need that 4-point plan. It works. To launch my program. So once my book is out, I'll be launching my 12-week lifestyle medicine immersion program that will basically go through my whole book to set you up for success. I'll be announcing this more later. Some of my services, I do consultations for people, and I spend time with them just to set them up for success. I do one-on-one coaching with some people too. I also do lifestyle and performance medicine in the workplace. I love doing that and changing organizations. I also do leadership development in organizations. This is my contact information, but I want to finish with this quote, one of my favorite quotes, that life is not a journey to the grave with the intention to arrive in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. All right, so that's my hope for all of you. So we covered lots of practices, and I'll answer all your questions. So, questions. Oh, microphone. Thank you. Is there anyone here that did not check in on the check-in list? All right, so make sure you check in. If you've been here before, if you did not check, if you've never been with me before, please fill out a yellow card so you can get the follow-up email. Okay, so question. Oh. Okay. Oh, yes.
There's a cooking class at Himalayan Restaurant next Thursday. I think it's at 5 o'clock, and they're going to make, show you how to make yogurt in the Instant Pot, make cream cheese out of that yogurt, and make a mushroom soup. There's 3 spots left. I think it's $60. It's being taught by some of the people.
Who raised their hand? Was it you?
Lunch and dinner with all of us that a lot of you may know.
That's in South Natomas.
South Thomas at Himalaya, a vegan
Yes.
restaurant.
Yes.
If you've ever been there, it's very, very good and very, very delicious.
It's excellent. The food is amazing.
Part of the area to have a
Really?
class, and they hope you buy some food there too.
That's awesome. It's great food.
Flyers up there, and
Okay. Who would be in? Anybody want a flyer? I'll just hand it out real quick right here. There's 3 spots left, so 3 spots left. Fight for it. Fight for it.
that email.
Did you want one? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Those are gone. Okay, before you go, now I have a gift for all of you. So I'm going to answer the question in a minute. So I have a gift for you. So I have an informational flyer from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. For those of you who would like information on a whole food, plant-based plate, how to get started on being able to prevent and reverse chronic disease, hands up and I'll give you one. Okay, here, here, here. Yes. Yes.
Nice red app, there, it looks great, Canada. And then also.
She gets all the.
Works in Food Guide Canada, amazing resource.
Okay. Who, hands up over here? Anybody want this? Okay. There's that. Just take one. Anybody else? You want that? Did you want one, Mary? Oh, you got one already. Okay. There you go. Okay. There you go. Okay. Okay. There you go. Good to see you. Yeah, just leave it up there. That's fine. Okay. Want more? Okay. Those do?
Yeah.
Really? Well, okay. Okay. Okay, question.
Right here.
Okay.
When you say chronic diseases, you always mention rheumatoid arthritis. Is osteoarthritis also considered a chronic disease? And why didn't you ever say that?
Because I can't list them all. There's so many of them. But osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, osteopenia, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's disease, the list is so long of chronic diseases. I only highlight the few. That's why.
Okay, isn't osteoarthritis a lot more common than rheumatoid?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. Who else? Yeah. But they're all chronic. Yes. Question. Susan. Here, go ahead, speak into that.
I noticed on one of the modules that you had, if you're on this type of diet, vegan diet, you have low white blood cell counts. Is there any research how or why? Because
great question.
because it would be in a regular laboratory result,
Yeah,
it would be
right.
considered not a good thing. So.
Okay, very good. So white blood cells are the cells in your bloodstream that are designated and created to help you fight infection. When you're on a plant-based diet, you don't get sick as much. So there's a basic law of our bodies and the basic law of the planet. If you don't use it, you lose it. And if you don't need it, you regress. So what happens is that people on a plant-based diet and healthier people in the blue zones, they have lower white blood cell counts because they don't get sick as much. So that's why, and it's perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. Okay.
What about red blood cells? If you have less red blood cells, is that anemia?
Okay.
Red blood cells, if you have less red blood.
Typically, if
low
you
red
have
blood cells.
low red blood cells, that could potentially lead to anemia. So that's usually the name described for low red blood cells. But people on a plant-based diet don't typically have.
Okay, because I have low
red
in
blood
one of those. I can't remember which one. I'm gonna
Okay,
have
well
to
then
go
you
check.
need to make sure you know. Make sure you check.
I'm a little bit anemic, so it's probably the red.
Okay, all right. Who else? Questions. Yeah, hold on here. Oh. And then I'll go back up front. Yes.
There is usually one thing that they tell us we need to take B12 supplement. So that's pretty standard, and you wouldn't you wouldn't say anything against that.
No, I wouldn't
That's
say
part of
anything
it.
against taking B12. In fact, I would insist that you take it. So there are ways to get B12. I actually purchased the Jarrow, Jarrow, B12. It's a very good methyl B12. You can get it on Amazon. And I take one 5,000 microgram tablet of B12 per week. That's all you need. Because your liver stores it. It's a water-soluble vitamin, but it stores in your liver, so it's very, very easy to just have more than enough. Your body only needs 4 to 6 micrograms per day. So 5,000 is more than enough. So you're in good shape. Thank you for bringing that up. Who had a question here?
I forgot what I
Okay. That's okay. It'll come back. It'll come back. Okay, other questions? Other questions? Anything at all? Anything at all?
What's the date of the next?
Okay, next class is going to be the 23rd, and it's going to be happiness. Happiness, the pursuit of happiness. So don't miss out. It's going to be awesome. It'll be right here. Same place, same bat channel, same bat time. Okay, other questions? Anything at all? Anything at all?
Ruben, if
Yes.
you want to invite others, we have updated
Oh, yes.
with the correct dates.
Yeah, so please get some corrected date flyers so you can share that with people. So we've got next seminar is July 23rd, and the final seminar will be August 6th, August 6th. So make sure you let people know. We'll have a lot of fun at those two seminars. So we have the pursuit of happiness, and then optimal athletic performance at any age. Any age, yes.